very special guest with us today. Her name is Carla Stickler, and she is a Broadway performer. So I asked if I could ask her some questions and we could get to know her a little bit and see what's so fun and special about performing on Broadway. So, hi, Carla.
Hi, Jess. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for being here and doing this for us.
No problem. My pleasure.
Oh, yes. We had some, I had some of my 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders submit some questions for you. So, and boys and girls, she doesn't know these questions. So this is going to be fun.
Can't wait. I'm so excited.
Okay. So, but first of all, Carla, can you just tell us a little bit about you and about maybe like what made you want to become a performer in the first place? Was Broadway always your dream? That kind of stuff. Just give us a little background information.
Okay, so a little bit about me. Like Jess said, I'm a Broadway performer. I've been performing professionally for 15 years. I don't want to tell you how old I am, but 15 years is a long time. I'm an old lady, and that's okay. I've had a really great career. I started performing when I was younger. I think my first show that I did, I was 9. I think I was 9. Like 8 or 9. I did a show in my hometown, and I got to do Peter Pan, and I played John in Peter Pan, and I wore that cute little top hat, and I dressed up like a boy, but I got to fly, and so it was very cool. And I was kind of hooked from there. I got bit by the theater bug, and I loved it. And then a year later, when I was 10, I did Oliver, and I got to play Oliver, and that was exciting. These are all hometown. This is not Broadway. I was not on Broadway when I was 10. And then I just did a lot of musical theater in like my hometown when I was growing up. I ended up going to college for theater, and so I studied acting. I did a lot of summer camps when I was younger to do shows. And then as soon as I graduated college, I've just kind of been performing nonstop. And since I graduated from college, my career has consisted of a bunch of big Broadway shows. So I toured all over Asia with The Sound of Music, playing Liesl. I toured all over the United States and Canada in the show Mamma Mia as the daughter. She's the one that gets married at the end. And then I was in Wicked for about 10 years, covering the role of Elphaba. So if you don't know Wicked, she's the Green Witch, the Wicked Witch of the West. That was kind of the highlight of my life so far, getting to play Elphaba on Broadway.
What role would you choose if you could choose to play any role on Broadway?
Ooh, on Broadway. Okay.
Or really any role. Like, what is your dream role?
Okay. I think one of my dream roles is to play Cinderella in Into the Woods. And then when I'm older, play the witch in Into the Woods. Because I played Little Red Riding Hood when I was in high school. And then I would feel like my life is complete. Maybe somewhere in there play the baker's wife. Really, I just want to play every female character in Into the Woods.
Okay, so who is somebody in your life who has inspired you?
Okay, to perform, I would say my grandmother. My grandmother was an opera singer, and she was my voice teacher when I was growing up. And I spent, as soon as I was old enough to start singing, so like as soon as I was old enough to take voice lessons with her, because she was a very, very renowned voice teacher in Chicago. And so only the best opera singers study with her. So I was only allowed to start studying with her, and I think when I was like 16. And I was just like, I wanted to be her. I wanted to be an opera singer. I wanted to sing like her. She had this beautiful studio downtown that looked over Lake Michigan, and she was such a diva. She had all these beautiful like headshots of her performing all these roles, and I wanted to be her so bad. And so I'd say like she definitely is one of the big reasons I got into performing, because she was such a cheerleader of mine, and she wanted me to, she saw a lot of promise in me, and she saw a lot of, what's the word? oh gosh, words. She saw, she thought that I could do this. Like, she thought that I was talented, and she really wanted to encourage me to do it. So, yeah.
Okay. So how do you feel on stage when you're performing?
Oh, goodness. That's a fun question. So I want to say that I don't feel nervous, but I think I would be lying to you. I think there's a fine line between nerves and adrenaline. And when I perform, I get a lot of adrenaline. And there's maybe like 2 seconds right when the show starts where that adrenaline rush is like massive. And I think sometimes we mistake it for nerves, but if you can like learn to like feed off of that adrenaline, it can kind of like carry you through the show. And so that's how I feel. I feel like these adrenaline rushes, and they kind of come and go as you're acting throughout the show. And you fall, as an actor, right? You fall into being the character. And when you're the character, you feel however the character feels. So if the character is nervous, you feel nervous. If the character is happy, you feel happy. If the character is sad, you're sad, right? So like you feel whatever the character is feeling. And you try your hardest as an actor to train to use that adrenaline and those nerves to help you launch into that character so you can get as close to the feelings of what that character is going through. So you don't have all that other stuff get in the way. Because really, you want to just see people behaving on stage like real people. You don't want to see Carla nervous. You want to see Elphaba having a journey, right? You want to see her story. So as an actor, we work on trying to take ourselves out of it and remove all of our own personal feelings and be present and really be that character.
Wow, what an amazing answer.
Yeah.
What? Oh my gosh. Okay, amazing. You're just teaching them right now. Like, I just play your video and like teach them any of the lessons. Okay. So what do you feel? Wait, no, I just asked that one. Okay, here we go. Next one. Next one. Okay. What do you do right before a performance? Do you have any rituals that you do or anything like that?
Mm-hmm. Okay, yes. I have a weird ritual. This is not like a ritual, but this is like, I guess it's a ritual. And it's not for everything. So when I'm like when I'm in the ensemble of a show, I do not do this. I don't even think about the show until I'm literally walking out on stage. And even then, I'm not always thinking about the show. But if I'm playing like Elphaba or I'm playing like a big role, when I take the train into the city, I will put headphones on and put something on that doesn't have words so I can kind of block everything out. And I will run through the entire show from beginning to end in my head on my train ride. And it's really hard to do when there's a mariachi band on the subway. But I have done it. And it's a really great exercise in focus and learning how to block things out and to like really focus on the thing that you have to do. And I'm like, if I can do this on the subway, I will be fine for the show. So I only do that when I have to like perform a really big role, and it requires a lot of like being present and focus. But when I'm just like dancing in the ensemble of a show, and I'm doing that all the time, like 8 times a week, it's muscle memory. So I don't really have a lot of prep work. I'll do like a couple little like warm-ups, and that's my warm-up. That is really my warm-up. I go, and then that's it. I go on stage. Maybe I do a couple stretches. That's it.
Huh. Do you ever think you will mess up on stage? It's kind of like, yeah. Oh, okay.
Thinking, I have messed up so many times on stage. I don't just think I will. I have. Because live theater, it happens. When you do shows that you've done you do them a lot, right? Things are bound to go wrong. We've had people miss cues. They just don't show up on stage, and you're waiting and they're not there. And so you start ad-libbing. I have messed up words in very, very important songs and made things up to try to figure out how to get back. Messing up happens all the time. But because messing up happens all the time, as a professional, what's the right word? It's not that you're afraid to mess up, right? Obviously nobody wants to mess up, but because it happens so much, it stops being scary. So you learn how to deal with it, right? You're like, oh, things happen, because live theater, right? Anything could happen, the drop could not come down and you're still out on stage, right? You could have pieces of the set that just don't come out on stage and you have to now work with no set. So things happen all the time. People go up on lines, microphones aren't working, the light cue will be wrong, somebody in the orchestra will start playing the wrong thing. Like, things happen all the time. What you do as a professional actor is it's your job to make sure the audience doesn't know when things happen, right? So if something happens, which is bound to, the show must go on. So you react how the character would react in the situation, instead of me becoming Carla and freaking out that stuff is going on. I have to be Elphaba, or I have to be whoever I'm playing, and I have to react accordingly. So if one of the people didn't say their line and I need that line, I will now have to figure out how to ask them a question to get them to say that line, because I need that information. The story needs that information. So as an actor, it is your job to get really good at thinking on your feet, because inevitably things will go wrong, and they do. Yeah.
Yeah, they do. Oh, that's so great, because I think also as a third grader, fourth grader, fifth grader, when you're performing in a show, that can be really scary. Like, it's messing up and everything. So I think that's really encouraging to know, that it is fine. Everyone, even professional Broadway performers, mess up all the time.
All the time. And I know, like, when you're young and you're doing a show and it's like you get to do the show once, nobody wants to mess up. And it's unfair, because you're like, I only get this one opportunity to do this show and I want it to be perfect. But the nature of live theater is never perfect. So the sooner we can kind of learn to just go with the flow and lower our expectations of perfection, right? Perfection, I think to strive for perfection in the theater is insane, right? We strive for, like, progress. We strive for our best. We strive to be present and to be honest. And when things happen, we strive to move on, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. But it's such an important lesson to learn in live theater. Do you always like the costumes that you wear, or are there any exceptions?
So, as an actor, I don't get to pick my costumes. So my opinion of the costumes should never leave my person. So whether or not I like my costumes, I should never tell the person who created the costume. And I should never walk around complaining about it. Only because a lot of thought and time and money and dedication to the show has gone into, like, creating these costumes. And so whether or not I like them, it doesn't really matter, because I have to wear them. So you have to figure out ways to if you don't like your costumes, which, yes, I have had costumes that I've worn where I'm like, oh, I hate this costume, but I can't really complain about it, right? Like, the things that you can complain about are fit. If a costume doesn't fit right, you can have that fixed. You can go to wardrobe and you can say, hey, this is, like, a little too tight here. Can you loosen it up? This is a little whatever here. I need a little more room so I can raise my arms, whatever. But unfortunately, as an actor, your opinion of the costume, whether or not you like it, doesn't matter.
If you hadn't become an actor, what do you think you would have liked to do professionally?
Okay, so this is tricky because I do a lot of things. I think this is also a great question, because I think when we're young and we're choosing to go into the theater, there's a lot of people say, only go into the theater if you can't imagine yourself doing anything else. And I don't like that. I don't think it's fair, because I think we should be able to do a lot of things. I do a lot of things. I am not just an actor. When I was in high school, I was a ceramic artist. I threw pots. I made pottery. And I very much almost went to college to be a professional ceramic artist because that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to make ceramics and make pots and throw things on the pottery wheel, and I loved it. And I still love it, and I still do it. And somewhere along the way, I learned how to build websites, and I'm also a software developer. So I do that. I'm also a teacher. I have a master's degree in education, and I teach voice lessons, and I do master classes, and I teach workshops, and so I do a lot of things. And I don't know what else I would do because I do all the things I want to do.
So, when you are going to an audition, how do you prepare for that audition, and what do you do if things don't go exactly according to plan?
That is a great question, because inevitably, live theater, things don't always go according to plan. So how do I prepare for an audition? So I'm at the place where if I'm auditioning for a show, I will be given a bunch of material from the show to learn. So I will, depending on how many days I have, it could be 24 hours. It could be a week or 2 weeks. It could be 2 days. Like I don't always get a say in how much time I have to prepare for an audition. So I will get the material. I will have my mother, who is a pianist, record the piano tracks for me so I can learn the music. Now I think they're getting better at giving out like pre-recorded tracks so people can learn new music easier, but I've always had my mother do it for me. I'll literally spend however much time I have cramming the music, just learning it, performing it in front of my mirror. I will print out the sides. So sides are basically like scenes from the musical. So a side would be just like a scene. So in an audition, you would read a side with like another actor or a reader. So I will work on the sides. I will make my boyfriend read them with me. If he can't do it, I'll find a friend to read them with me. Try my hardest to memorize them, but always hold them in my hands because for auditions, you never want to be memorized, or you never want to pretend you're memorized, right? It makes everybody uncomfortable. So even if I am memorized, I still hold that piece of paper because inevitably we get nervous. And when we get nervous, we forget things that we've recently memorized because they're not fully in our bodies. So you try to memorize it, but you always hold that piece of paper with the words in your hand. And you do your scenes, and you hold that piece of paper because you always forget the words, even when you think you know them. And other prep things, I think, like to prepare just in life for auditioning, like I practice, I sing a lot, I work on my voice, I build up my rep, I try to work on new music, I will take acting classes sometimes. I'm kind of always working on my craft, if you will. Okay, and when things go wrong, because things go wrong, you always want to hold those sides. If you're singing a song that is new, have a piece of paper with all the words written out because inevitably you're going to forget the words. So hold that piece of paper and don't be afraid to look at it. I'm trying to think of like bad auditions. I've had to go to auditions where I've been like really sick, and that wasn't fun. I've had auditions where they give you like a stack of material to learn, and they ask you to sing one thing, and they go, "Great, thanks so much for coming in." You're like, "I just spent 4 days memorizing a bunch of stuff, and you had me do one thing." That's fun. What else is fun? I don't know. Auditions are weird. They're just a weird thing. They're not fun for anybody. Literally nobody. They're fun for nobody.
So on Broadway, you wear headset microphones. Are there specific reasons that you do that instead of holding microphones or using other different kinds of microphones?
So commonly on Broadway, you'll see 2 different kinds of microphones. You'll see a microphone that's like right here on your forehead, And then you'll sometimes see one that wraps around and is like right here on your chin. Those are the most common type because they allow for the most movement. With these ones, I like these ones the most because usually I'm wearing a wig. And so I have a wig cap on and I can pin the mic into my wig cap all around here and then I can dance and I can do a lot of things and movement with it because it's not getting in the way. Same goes for these ones. A lot of people, like you'll see a lot more men wear these ones because they don't have enough hair to clip a mic into. A lot of men don't wear wigs as much. So women will generally have the head mic here because we wear wigs. Men will generally have ones here. And then if it's like a show like American Idiot where they're trying to be stylized or something and they have the boom mic, they have these mics because it looks cool, you know, or like I think Rent, they have these too, just because it like looks cool, but it doesn't, they're all the same. It doesn't matter.
Oh, so is it hard to memorize lines and to memorize where you stand, where you go on stage?
Yes. Not everybody memorizes things very quickly. I find I write down my blocking. So if somebody gives me blocking, I immediately will go back to my script. I'll write down like on this line, move stage right and go to number 4 in line with the wing on the right side. Whatever, right? Like I write down all my blocking. Otherwise I don't remember it. And a lot of times when you're learning a show, you'll learn blocking and then you won't touch that scene for like weeks. So you need to write it down. I also will practice it. So like once on a day that I learn blocking, I go home and I will put it in my body and I will do it over and over again because the only way that we learn blocking and lines and stuff is by getting it into our body. It has to become second nature. It has to be something we don't think about, right? Usually when we're nervous, if we aren't fully, like if the things aren't fully memorized and in our bodies, we forget them because our nerves get in the way, right? So finding ways to match movement with the sound. So like, like you have a line where you say something like, I don't know, what do people say? Like, that's crazy, right? That's your line. And you move downstage on that line. So you tie those things together, right? You tie the movement with the words and it helps you memorize that way. Memorizing is hard, like just kind of doing it, finding ways to just have it become so natural. Say it over and over again. I memorize things while I'm doing the dishes. I like to memorize things while I'm doing things so that like memorizing gets like ingrained into my physical body. So like if I'm like brushing my teeth, I'm memorizing. If I'm like doing dishes, if I'm like, what else do people do? While I'm working out, I'm memorizing. Like I said before, how I will go through a show from beginning to end while I'm on the subway because I will memorize that way too. I'll sit on the subway and there's lots of noises and I will try to run through all my lines so I can learn how to focus my attention and memorize that way. So like I like to memorize while I'm doing stuff. Otherwise it's really hard to just memorize things and not have them attached to things, you know? Mm-hmm. But yeah, memorizing's hard.
Yeah. Memorizing is really hard. And actually, we've been a part of Disney musicals in schools for the last few years. Mm-hmm. And so they love to teach choreography with the lyrics of the songs because just putting that together is a lot easier to, memorize, which is really cool, really cool. Okay. So as a Broadway performer, how do you really use trapdoors and interesting ways that you enter the stage, all those different kinds of things? Like what's the behind the scenes scoop on those?
Okay, cool. I love this question. So when I was doing Wicked, Elphaba goes through 3 trapdoors during the show. They're all in different places in the show, or on the stage. And they are choreographed to be as safe as possible because they can be a little scary. One of them is this giant like plank in the floor that we run up from underneath the stage. So in order to get there, you run off the stage, around the back of the stage, down this awful little staircase to get underneath the stage, down a little hallway to the front of the stage, And then there are crew people with flashlights lighting the way so you can see where you're going. And then when you get to the stairs to climb up through the trapdoor, there are stagehands holding a curtain back and shining a light so you can run up the stairs through the trapdoor. And then as soon as you get up the stairs, all trapdoors on Broadway stages will have little lights, like a little red light. If you can see the red light, because sometimes we have a lot of fog and things, so it's hard to see. But you can always see a red light through a fog. So if you see the red light, that means the trapdoor is still open. So you have to be careful and always be aware of if the trapdoor is open or closed, because you don't want to accidentally fall through a trapdoor that should be closed, but for some reason something happened because live theater and it didn't close. So you're always kind of being super conscious of where the trapdoor is. So then usually once you go out the trapdoor closes and then you can go back on top of the stage. Elva has two other ones. She has one where she pops up out of the stage. And this is somebody pulls open a thing on the stage and you climb up a little ladder, and it's a very narrow, scary little ladder, and you have to pop through the stage. That one is a little scary because the door is very heavy. But we have stagehands that are like kind of there to help out if something goes wrong. And then we have another one that's an elevator. Elevator stage door is really cool. So basically it's in the front of the stage, and the stage has these two things that open up. So like they drop down and they open up, and then underneath it is an elevator that you stand on, and as soon as they drop down and open up, you come up through the stage on the elevator, and then you back away, step off of it immediately, and again, the little red light, if you see the red light, it's still open. So it's scary because there's a lot of fog. As soon as it closes, then you can go forward. They're scary and they're very well choreographed. Anytime and you see anything like that happening where people are climbing on set pieces, people are coming up through trapdoors, people are flying through the house or flying, anything that requires like danger, actors actually get paid extra for. So if we have to climb any ladders or climb up on things that are kind of dangerous, we get hazard pay, which is kind of nice. It's not that much money, but it's still like the thought that counts. And it's all super choreographed. So hopefully nothing will go wrong.
Yes, hopefully so. Everyone is safe. Yes.
You want safety first when dealing with trapdoors, ladders, flying, all that fun stuff.
Absolutely. Okay. So, how does it feel to be on Broadway? Because that's a really important job and you have to be really committed.
It feels really magical. All I ever wanted to do was be on Broadway. And there is something really, really exciting about getting to have that moment where the lights go down, you enter the stage, the orchestra starts, the lights come up, and there's just thousands of people just so excited to be there, to watch the story, and you get to be a part of that. I think it is magical, and I think it is such an important job. Theater and the arts are so important. Even if you think about like right now, right? While we're all stuck inside, what are the things that we do to entertain ourselves? We watch movies, we watch TV, we listen to music. The arts are really important. And it is something that I hope we all remember while we're stuck at home, and that we all continue to do, even though there is no live theater right now, and it's really sad. It will come back, and we will all get to have that magical moment of getting to either sit in the theater as an audience member and watch something magical happen, or be on the stage and get to be part of storytelling. It's something that I think, we need. And I am so grateful that I got to be a part of that. And it feels really awesome.
So, to be on Broadway, to perform on Broadway, how good do you have to be? And is there an age limit? Like, how old do you have to be?
Okay, so I feel like we've had babies on Broadway. I don't think there's an age limit. If you think about shows like Matilda, well, what is another great show with children? The Sound of Music.
Yeah.
Rock. I mean, like, there are so many shows with children. Children are in a lot of Broadway shows. So the age limit depends on what the character calls for. A lot of times you will have kids who are maybe like a year or two older than the age playing the age, just because it involves a certain amount of discipline. And I don't know if you remember being 2 or 3. I don't, but I'm sure I was a disaster. I'm sure I could not have like remembered to go to the same places online. And anytime you see like a baby on stage, somebody is carrying that baby. That baby is not like free to do what it wants and like memorize lines. And sometimes that baby is crying and it shouldn't be. Smaller children are harder to handle on a stage, so you don't see them as frequently, but like tons of shows with children. Billy Elliot, all children, right? And awesome, like really talented kids. So I age is not an issue. And there are old people on Broadway too. Lots of old people. I don't think there's an age limit. It's more about like, can you do the job? Are you right for the job? Do you have to be good? That's an interesting question. Good is relative. Good is an opinion. And talent is also an opinion. So, and what is right for the role does not necessarily require somebody to be talented or good. It requires something that is right for the role. So sometimes you'll get people who are not actors in Broadway shows because they are right for the role. And like sometimes we'll have like celebrities play roles. And are they good? I don't know, but they're celebrities, so it matters. So they get to play the role. Are their understudies better than them? Probably, because they're trained. You can be a well-trained person, a well-trained actor, a well-trained singer, and not necessarily be the most talented person in the room, but be very good at your job. So talent is not always the reason that people work on Broadway. I've seen a lot of talented people throw it away because they don't have any discipline. They don't know how to memorize things. They don't know how to be present. They don't know how to be good team players. And so talent or no talent, I don't want to work with them. So if somebody is maybe a little less talented, but a joy to be around, I'd rather spend my time with that person. Because at the end of the day, it's just theater. Anybody can do the job. I mean, yes, there are some really magical, remarkably talented, wonderful actors out there. But I think the majority of us are just trained. You spend a lot of time training to be all those things. And I think anybody can learn how to do it. And yeah, I think that's it.
I think that's true for theater at any age. You have to be disciplined. You don't have to be the most talented or, the best singer, dancer, actor. You just have to want to do a good job and to be disciplined enough to do a good job. And
I've heard some really lousy singers perform songs that have just brought me to tears because they acted the pants off of it. They brought so much life to the song. I didn't care that they were out of tune. I didn't care that they couldn't really sing, So like talent and good is all relative,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And as a director too, like I'm looking for kids who will, do the part. So kids who are watching,
and be a joy to be around.
Have a good attitude. Amazing. Yeah. So how do you feel about main roles versus ensemble roles?
That is such a good question, Jessica. Obviously, everybody wants to be the lead. But we have to remember that storytelling is not just about the person who the story is about. What would Beauty and the Beast be without all the villagers? There goes the baker with his tray. Like, that song would make no sense if there weren't other people on stage.
Right.
We need to bring life to the story and the location, and the ensemble is so much a part of that. And they're so integral to like just the storytelling, right? We need them. We couldn't tell the story without them. And I have done both. I have been a principal role and I have been in the ensemble for many years. I love being in the ensemble. I think the ensemble is so much fun. It's a lot less work, you know, like holding up a show as like the lead of a show is stressful, and it requires you to be on 8 times a week. That's 8 shows a week with 1 day off. So you have 2 days in there where you do 2 shows in 1 day. And when you play the lead, that's a lot of pressure. And it doesn't matter how great you are. It's exhausting. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot. And it's really fulfilling, but it's the reason you don't see a lot of actors play the lead for very long. Leading like principal roles are usually on like a 9-month contract. So they'll do that role for about 9 months. Sometimes they'll get renewed. Maybe they'll do it for a year and a half or whatever they've negotiated. But some of those roles are really hard and people don't really want to do them for that long because they're tired. But what's fun about the ensemble is you can do the ensemble for a long time. And if you want to work, it's really fun work because you sing and you dance and you work your butt off, but there's not as much pressure, like not everybody's staring at you. So if you mess up, most people don't notice. If you trip because boy, oh boy, how many times I've got my heel stuck in my skirt and fallen over. It happens, but nobody's, because you're in the ensemble and not everybody's staring at you, it's okay. And you get to have fun and you get to play and it's a really cool experience. I love being in the ensemble. I think I teach college students and they all want to be stars and they get very upset when they're not cast as the star and they're in the ensemble. And I try to tell them, the ensemble is a really important place to be. People in the ensemble work a lot. If you're a really lovely, delightful person and you're in the ensemble, I promise you're going to keep working because people are going to want to work with you. They're going to do another musical and be like, oh my gosh, Jessica was in the ensemble of my show and she was such a delight to have around. We should bring her and have her come do this show, right?
And I would say yes.
Yeah. Uh-huh. And there are more jobs for ensemble members than there are for leading ladies and leading men, right? Than for starring roles. Mm-hmm. And so as an actor, your desire is to work. So if you want to be a working actor, there's a lot of work for ensemble people. And it's fun. I love it. I love that there's no pressure. I mean, yes, you have to do your job and you have to be good at it and you have to show up and you have to be a joy to be around. I say that a lot. A joy to be around. But you want to be, you want to be that person that everybody's like, oh my God, I love that person. And you have to do your work and you have to be consistent and dedicated and all those things. But it doesn't require as much stress. And I enjoy that a lot. So yeah.
Yes. I would love to be in an ensemble on Broadway. You never know. I mean,
One day.
One day. Okay. There we go. That's the dream. So, what do you do when others are performing and you're not?
I love this question. Okay. So, it depends on how much time I have. When I was in Mamma Mia, we all sang backup vocals, not on stage. So we had these big vocal booths behind the stage with a microphone inside of each booth, and 4 or 5 of us would stand around a microphone and we would sing backup vocals. And in between songs, because I was always singing backup vocals on everything, I would sit on the floor of the vocal booth and I would knit. I knit a lot of scarves. I would read books. I read a lot of books. So this is before your cell phone was a computer. So I didn't have I couldn't just sit on Instagram or whatever all day. I would sit and I would read books. and I would knit, and I would read magazines. Magazines are great when you have like a short amount of time and you don't want to like get fully involved in something before you have to like go back on stage. So I read a lot of magazines. Some shows, when you're not on stage, like I just did a show, and I was not on stage a lot during the show, but I spent most of the show backstage changing my clothes. So when you're in the ensemble, you play like a million parts. So when you're not on stage, you're usually like in the dress, you're like running to the dressing room, changing out of your clothes into another costume, changing your wig, changing your makeup, changing your shoes, and then running back down the stairs to get back on the stage. So you're not just doing nothing most of the time. Sometimes you have like nice little breaks. And now, like, I'll just, like, sit and, like, check Instagram or check my email.
Yeah.
With, like, one ear open, so I'm listening to the show at all times, so I don't miss my cues. Yeah. Especially in, like, a long-running show when you know the show so well. You don't have to, like, always pay attention backstage when you know what your cues are. But, yeah, you know, that's what we do backstage. It's super fun.
Doing normal things. Yeah. Yeah, there we go.
Costume, you know, sitting in a giant costume on your phone.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay, so well, thank you so much for being with us today, Carla. I feel like we have so much to learn from all that you just said. Maybe everyone should watch it a few times and just, you know, get to everything. But so is there anything that you would like to leave these students with, maybe aspiring actors and actresses who want to do theater, or any advice, anything that you'd like to leave them with?
Theater is really cool. It's fun. It can be inspiring. It can be magical. It can be emotional. I think the one thing I would want to leave young people who want to do theater, right, leave you with is, don't judge it. Don't judge yourself. Don't be so hard on yourself. Theater is it's a process, right? So theater can be messy at first, and it cannot be great all the time. And that's how we learn, and that's how we get better. And nobody starting out in the theater is a brilliant actor, you know? Nobody is perfect. And there's so much to learn and so much to grow, so much growing that needs to happen when you're young. And even now, even my age, like, I have so much that I can still learn. Anytime I work with somebody who has, you know, is a little more seasoned than I am, there's so much that I can learn from them. Every opportunity to be on a stage and to be a part of a production, or to be backstage and be a part of a production, be the person in black who is changing the lights and being the stage manager and telling people when to go on and off the stage, and, you know, doing sound. Those are all really amazing opportunities to grow and to learn and to listen to other people and to become an empathetic person. I think the arts, especially theater, is really good for that. And so if we can take all of these experiences as learning lessons, even when we make mistakes, even when we say the wrong words or our voice cracks or whatever, it's all just an opportunity to learn something and to grow and to become the best person that we can be at that time. And that's all we can do.
That's all we can do in life, right? Theater is like life. So it's so true. Thank you again so much, Carla. Seriously, this has been absolutely incredible, and I appreciate you doing this for us.
Thanks for having me. It was nice to talk to you all. Good luck in all your future theater endeavors.